my colleague or our colleague from Hawaii mentioned, there's no Asia in the room, and no Africa in the room, and no South America in the room, and those parts of the world will have a tremendous impact on where we go. So I think some of the things I'm going to talk about or bring to your attention, give you some insight, have global application. Some of them are very US based, but some of the things that we've experienced there, I think you're going to begin to see more of in Europe in terms of cross-cultural conflict, and how we manage that is really going to be key for the future. I think we need to always think of being inclusive of who's not represented in the room, what perspectives are not in the room, because if they're not there, we won't be able to make the best decision about what our future could be. So with that, I put together an agenda of a few points that I'll touch on. I don't want to assume that everybody, has the same definition of dimensions of diversity. This is typically what we use in the U.S. It's around work style, physical challenge, religion, etc. The definition we like to use most, and again, I represent mostly restaurants, food service establishments, Sodexo, Aramark, Compass in the U.S., some hotels, and then all of the food and non-food manufacturers who touch that industry. But we focus our energy on diversity as diversity of thought to produce better solutions, not as much social, moral, ethical as it is business related. And the definition I used for sustainability came from work I looked at from the UN and other places, and I like this definition of sustainability, meeting the present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet those needs, whatever those needs may be, and not always economic. With regard to sustainability, I use UNESCO's example of these points being important to them, equal dignity of cultures. We find as you talk to certain groups in America, respecting of that culture and having patience. Coca-Cola spent a whole lot of money to find out that it was two things that drive Latino engagement: respect and patience. $1 million+ to find out those two words. But cultural property and heritage, keeping the dialogue, respect cultural rights, cultural policies and tourism, blah, blah, blah. Diversity in business, the way we see things in the U.S. as a construct, is only 25 years old. People will say maybe it's 30, but there's really not been a lot of support for this much longer than 25 years ago when the Hudson Institute came out with Workforce 2000. It's probably like this future stuff, look where we're going. They sounded the alarm, there's going to be a people problem. Well, America hasn't listened, and we're only beginning to wake up to how big that people problem is going to be, because if you don't have people, you cannot open and operate food service establishments. And if people can't eat, they don't come. They don't take the tour of the countryside if they can't eat. Secondarily, the business case has been built around emerging markets, whether they're from China and India, but in the U.S. we look at these as domestically emerging markets, underrepresented African American, Hispanic as consumers. Black Americans years ago didn't have spending power. Black Americans spend a lot of money in TEFI right now. And TEFI has had difficulty figuring out what to do with all these young and moneyed individuals who don't look like them, who have different choices. The automotive industry struggled the same way. The workforce shortage has been accelerating with tremendous pace, and knowledge around diversity management has become a competitive advantage. I'll use the example that PepsiCo has overtaken Coca-Cola in many markets, and that's largely because they have become very competent around culture and ethnicity. They speak black, they speak white, they speak woman, they speak Latino, they speak Muslim, they speak urban, they speak youth, they speak age. They speak it culturally and know how to market, and that's why they've been successful. The other element is being culturally competent is going to be a requirement for moving forward. You will not be able to manage if you do not understand sexual orientation and disability as part of the language in the workplace. The demographic shifts, I won't go a lot into that because a lot of people have talked about it, but in the U.S., these things scare white people. They scare white CEOs that whites are minority in 4 states. I'm not making it up. I'm just a restaurant guy. I'm telling you the truth. Immigrants, the U.S. food and hospitality industry would come to a screeching halt if were it not for our Hispanic Latino workforce. And that's a big issue, and we want to build a fence between the United States and Mexico. And you figure out how you're going to put a roof on your buildings and how you're going to serve people. Buying power has been the other one. They begin to look at the transformation in buying power in the U.S. Who has the money? Years ago, these underrepresented groups didn't have money to be tourists, so you didn't need to worry about them. You do need to worry about them now. Diversity in hospitality is only 10 years old. It was really started in a real way by the NAACP. You probably have similar organizations in your communities who represent underrepresented groups, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Well, I don't go and call myself colored these days. Black will do just fine. But they put a report card out on the hotel industry, and the hotel industry all of a sudden had to wake up because they found a report card in the U.S. A, B, C, D, F is the bad number to have, and the industry was given a basic F. So the restaurant industry has become more engaged.